Inside Out 2. Oh boy. This is a movie that I was interested in, but not necessarily excited for. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I love Pixar, but Pixar sequels do not have a good reputation in my mind. I think Toy Story is the only franchise where that they've made where all the sequels are good. The Cars movies, it's like their franchises wasn't really particularly great to begin with, and it kind of just got worse and worse as it went along. Credibles 2 was pretty shitty, honestly. And Finding Dory, on first viewing, I wasn't a big fan of, but the more that movie sat with me, the more I really, really enjoyed Finding Dory. And I grew to understand the themes and kind of some of the ideas they were going for. But for most part, Pixar sequels are kind of all over the place with me. I love Monsters University and stuff like that. So I didn't really know how to think about this one going into it. But the trailers didn't really. I don't know. Like I like we're introducing anxiety and some of these more relatable concepts, but I was like, that just looks like the plot of the first movie again. Um, Luckily, I was proven wrong. However, I can't not say I wasn't just a wee bit disappointed, though I did really love this movie, and I think most people will as well. I think this is a very clever movie on expanding the first Inside Out, but I will. Let's just get into the positives here. This movie's funnier than the first Inside Out. The first Inside Out was a very funny movie as well, but I think this one had a lot more relatable gags that were just really funny. They had a preschool character called Baggy, and that was funny. He was a 2D animated character. Pixar had actually talked about this before the movie came out, but seeing it in the movie, very funny. Great sequence with that character. Laughed the entire time, as well the multiple people in the theater. Um, there's a joke about Riley Secrets that was pretty funny. There's a lot of great humor in the movie that really works. The score to this movie is really good. I don't know necessarily if it's better than the first, but it is really, really well done in this movie. And the voice acting is really good as well, as it usually is with Pixar movies. Of course, the animation is gorgeous. You're always going to say that with the Pixar movie. God, their movies are incredibly beautiful. I did see this on IMAX. Looks incredible. And yeah, I recommend that if you have the opportunity to see it in a higher theater. Though, if you have kids, don't watch animated kids movies in IMAX. I feel like that's just not a good mix. Because people who pay there, they pay extra money to be in those theaters, and they're nicer theaters, and you shouldn't really go to see it in IMAX. You should go see it in standard if you're taking your kids. Just me. But yeah. Other than that, I thought that was really good, and the way they expand Riley's mind and stuff, with some of the ideas of her identity and what makes Riley like the good and the bad, and you know, being who you are, kind of stuff that feels a little retready of the first movie, but isn't necessarily retready in what it's trying to show you and explain. I think that yeah, this was a very well done movie. Now let's get into my negatives, and my negatives aren't like deal breakers. I would say 100% go see this movie in theaters. Pixar needs it, and it's good, right? I just think for me, one, Bill Hader's replacement voice actor as Fear does a great job, but he was very distracting in the sense that he was not Bill Hader, and Bill Hader was not quite as animated as this new Fear is. And in some ways, he was actually better than Bill Hader. He was a lot funnier, but it also felt like a little bit distracting because I'm used to how this character sounded before. Maybe that's just me. I didn't really notice the change in voice acting for the character of Disgust, but yeah. I think where this movie faltered for me is this is a little too retready of the first movie, where its emotions get lost. They have to find their way back to headquarters to fix Riley before the other emotions do some damage. While there's a different end goal and point to it, it just feels like, okay, like I heard someone say, "Oh, after seeing this, I want Inside Out 3." I'm like, bullshit. Because do you really want this plot like 3 times? Because that's really like what they're gonna do, and it just did not work very well. I thought they explained everything in a nice way, and they had a good message, but at the same time, it just I don't know, it didn't feel as strong or as impactful as that first movie. And the other thing too is like there's so many things going on in this movie, and it felt so like oddly paced, where things didn't really sit that long. Like there's a part in the movie where her friends are talking about how we're gonna move away and this is our last weekend together, and then you just see her ditch her friends throughout the movie, but there isn't really anything to that. Like they don't linger on her friends a little bit. You know, it just kind of like resolves itself kind of by the end climax, but it just felt like some of these little details maybe need a little bit more focus, and they didn't really get that. I still really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very clever and had a great heart to it and was emotional, no pun intended, but still I feel like maybe need just a wee bit of retooling just to make it feel a little bit less reach ready and more um, just more like more fulfilling with some of the character beats and stuff in the movie that felt a little bit off. Though I will say, this movie is probably definitely funnier than First Inside Out. I cannot repeat that enough. That fucking 2D character made me laugh my ass off. Great movie. Not one of Pixar's best, but still really good. And a huge win for Pixar.